saw that you've said before that Bitcoin treasury companies could become a primary vehicle for global capital to gain exposure to Bitcoin, kind of like we just spoke of. So that begs the question, how big do you think this sector could realistically get?
Yeah, so I think if the Bitcoin treasury thesis is successful, that there is market demand for corporate structures that not only accumulate Bitcoin on their balance sheet, but I think eventually transition to operating businesses and Bitcoin financial institutions, right? So in my view, what the treasury company is, it is the capitalization phase of future Bitcoin financial services, Bitcoin investment banks, and so on. Um, and so I think if the thesis is correct and Bitcoin becomes a multi-trillion dollar, I mean, it already is a multi-trillion dollar asset, but goes up another 10x or 20x, the market will demand Bitcoin native financial institutions. It will demand financial institutions that understand the asset, that touch the asset, that have expertise in the asset, because that asset needs to be integrated into both securities markets, into banking infrastructure, into economic infrastructure. And the simple truth is most of the banks don't have the DNA and don't plan to, in any sort of short time frame, touch the asset. And so I think like many other trends in history, what ends up happening is that there are new players that come on the stage that build around the new phenomena, and those are the providers that succeed there. It's kind of like the mutual funds didn't launch the ETFs, right? Like the ETF providers were new companies that came in and did the ETF. It's rarely the incumbent that innovates, that captures the new terrain. And so I think we're seeing this capitalization phase for Bitcoin treasury companies in the sense that like you'll get some number of them that transition into these financial institutions. And then, you're looking at probably market caps in this end stage in the hundreds of billions or, maybe some that even reach the trillions of dollars. I think these become major financial institutions if the Bitcoin thesis plays out. Obviously, I'm a bull on that, and I think Bitcoin is going to become a key capital asset. But if that happens, the companies that have the large treasury and also provide services there are home runs.
When you talk about the Bitcoin thesis playing out, do you see that as Bitcoin being mainly used as a store of value, akin to gold, as digital gold, or do you see it also becoming more of a medium of exchange, kind of like Jack Dorsey has banged the drum about a couple of times, saying Bitcoin will only kind of fulfill its destiny once we're starting to use it, for peer-to-peer payments more frequently? Do you think it needs to be both of those, or can it become what you think it will become and fulfill that thesis as solely a store of value?
Bitcoin can absolutely be extremely successful only as a store of value. I think that much is clear. There is a key role it could play internationally and in the financial system. Look at gold. Gold has a large role. It's the biggest asset in the world. All it is a store of value. So that's certainly a scenario where Bitcoin could end up and would be successful. It is not, I think, fair to say that if it doesn't capture that medium of exchange role, that it fails. Now, that doesn't mean it can't. It doesn't mean it can't be a medium of exchange. That doesn't mean it won't be a medium of exchange. It also doesn't mean that it won't be more valuable if it's also a medium of exchange. So I'm very bullish on both Bitcoin's potential for that and its capacity to benefit, that it would benefit much more from having that function. But I do think the store of value adoption comes first. I think that's earlier, that's more foundational, and I think we have a longer way to go on the medium of exchange component.
Yeah, no, that feels right. I mean, I think right now we're at that point where the tracks to the Bitcoin train are being laid before our very eyes, and before we see it evolve into that next thing, we need those tracks to be in place first. What makes Nakamoto's treasury approach different from simply buying Bitcoin and then tweeting laser eyes on Twitter? How do you guys go about it?
Yeah, so I think there's a few kind of key differences to what we're doing. One is the team that's behind Nakamoto is a lot of the key team that oversaw UTXO, which was the hedge fund under Bitcoin Inc. that actually was the best performing hedge fund in the world over a 5 or 6 year time frame. It really did amazingly, and at the last time I checked those numbers, and that was done through investing in first movers in international markets. So the UTXO team recognized the opportunity for treasury companies early. Metaplanet was the first investment that they did. So this was the team behind kind of part of the initial Metaplanet idea, as well as Smarter Web, Blockchain Group, and many others that did extremely well. And so the thesis there is that, again, there's a lot of capital trapped in international markets that can't easily buy Bitcoin or American assets. And so, if you can launch a quality treasury company that's a first mover that provides an on ramp for that capital, that's a very compelling offering. It's a very compelling idea. And Nakamoto, that's part of our key strategy, is we plan to invest a portion of our balance sheet in kind of international treasury companies and playing a key role. And that can take a lot of different forms, but for now, just let's just say that we plan to deploy our balance sheet in that thesis. So that's one thing we're doing that's different. It's very different. We plan to be more engaged and more active. And we also are looking at we have a core thesis on operating businesses, on synergizing with the Bitcoin treasury. So what businesses could you own or operate or acquire that actually create cash flow with the Bitcoin treasury or synergize with it? And that's a question we're very actively asking. So I think we are a team of operators from the Bitcoin industry. We're people that have been in the industry, that have operated Bitcoin businesses for quite a while. And we view Nakamoto kind of as both a direct kind of treasury company and treasury play and an expression of that thesis, but also a way of kind of pulling that all together and kind of synergizing it with where this industry is going to end up.
Interesting. And it sounds like you're still kind of figuring out how to decide which sectors or companies make sense to bring under that umbrella. Like you don't have a formula for that yet. I mean, what you guys are doing is still very new. I don't want to say completely unprecedented, but it is new. So do you have an idea of what qualifies a company to kind of be brought in by you guys?
Yeah, so we're now in the domain of public company regulation. So it's not something we've disclosed to the market, and I can't talk about our criteria there yet.
Sure.
But it is
Mm-hmm.
something that obviously we would like to present to the market of how we're thinking about that and what our long-term capital strategy is and how we would evaluate those criteria. It's something we're very actively engaged in and that we look forward to sharing. So definitely a good question and definitely something that we're putting thought into. And I think that's again, it echoes this core point that like we want to build Nakamoto as an institution and a business that sits in the Bitcoin industry, that sits in the rise of this asset class and participates in many ways.